All right, give me a second here. It's a Tuesday evening in the United States, and right now the internet is completely messed up with traffic, so it's taking a very long time for the notifications to go out. So in the meantime, I'm just making some notes here for, I see there's somebody watching right now. Anyway, what we're going to be doing is talking about the amazing sacred geometry of the planets today, 17th of March 2020. We are living in historical times, okay? I'm not sure if you're interested in these things or if you're aware of these things, but for the planets to be doing what they're doing right now is monumental. It's very, very rare. And as you probably noticed, we're at the same time, the whole planet Earth is going through an extremely rare and unique period in human history. Okay? Let me just show you that I'm an actual real person. Hold on just a second, right there. Stay there. Greetings. This is Lumination. Whoever you are, thanks for hanging out there. Eventually, YouTube... Okay, I just got a message from YouTube that they are very short-staffed right now. As you know, a lot of the stuff on YouTube is done by artificial intelligence. They have the algorithm that does all the work, okay? But they also have human interactions to do the filtering for live streams and videos that do not meet the community guidelines. And so we have to allow for, there's all sorts of stuff going on with YouTube that we can't control, okay? So I'm just doing what Lumination does, okay? We just randomly pop up with shows. We do our Sunday night lives with the super chat mini readings for the tarot and astrology and everything like that. But also with all the stuff that's happening on planet Earth right now with humanity, we're also doing a few like random videos now and again when I feel called to do so. And tonight, here in the United States, I felt called to do so because we have a very exceptional moment in the history of planets. If you don't mind, dear viewer, I'd like to make a little astrodoodle for you. Okay? So please bear with me and I'll show you what I'm talking about, in case you have an interest in these things, okay? Alright, so let me see if I can do this for you. Thank you for being here, by the way. If you've never done this before, or if you're just a curious bystander, or if you're sitting there just eating popcorn or randomly tooling around YouTube, that's fine. It doesn't matter. The video will eventually get loaded onto the channel anyway, and the people who didn't get to see it will still get to see it. It's so much more fun to do it live. Alright, so I'm going to make a little basic astrodoodle for today. I'm going to use a very simplified, standardized, Western type astrology chart wheel. Okay? We're going to put Aries on the horizon over here. I'll just write them in so it's clear for you. This one's Taurus. You might have seen a lot of this stuff before if you watch the astrology channels and tarot channels and all of that. Over here is Gemini. This is Cancer. Sorry, my Sharpie pens are running out. This is Leo. This is Virgo. I haven't had a chance to go to the art store yet to get new ones. And over here is Libra. We're going to do Scorpio, of course. Here. Sagittarius. And here's where all the action is, up here in Capricorn, okay? So I'm just going to show you in a minute. Just let me finish the doodle. Hold on, be patient. There's old Aquarius over here. And then Pisces finally over here. Alright, so you've probably seen this before a million times. Alright, This is the Terra Lumination miniature astrodoodle. Okay, now watch this. I'm going to pencil in Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, Mars, and Moon. Okay? I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that over here? Saturn, Uranus, Jupiter, Mars, Moon. Okay, I'm going to put the symbols in. Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, Mars, and the Moon. Okay, so I'm going to put that all over here. Thank you very much. Okay, that's Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, Mars, and the Moon. And they are all piled up in here in the sign of Capricorn. Okay? I gotta tell you, whoever you are watching, this is a very, very strange evening. There's nobody here, and it's very clear. I've had a couple of very strange crashes on the internet here, and it is because the internet is becoming very heavily used all across the United States right now. And I have a very good system here for transmissions and all of that stuff and cameras, but the reality is that some of the infrastructure across America is getting a little bit, challenged right now. And I can tell here from watching all the numbers in the charts, which are all coming up over here, that there are a lot of people who are not getting their notifications right now. Okay? And that's probably because of the internet slowdown. Anyway, so I'm really glad that you're here. I'm going to mark off and delineate the Capricorn segment here. Okay? So this is extremely rare, what is happening right now, to have 5 planets all piled up very, very tightly together. It's very rare. In fact, there are even videos coming right now from like NASA and some of the astronomy channels where you can actually see images of where Jupiter, Mars, and the Moon are all actually lined up. And you can actually see it in the sky. Okay? On Terra Lumination, we tend to deal with the really heavy-duty stuff, the big stuff, like to do with Saturn and Pluto. Jupiter's big, of course, too. Hold on, I need a beverage. Stay right there. If I was really smart, I would have all sorts of like promotion material telling people about like, oh, I'm going to do a show and everything like that, but it's not happening. So, it's just you and me, at least for now. So, I don't know how much you like study astrology. I'm kind of an amateur astrologer. I've been doing it for many years, and I wrote this book, several years ago regarding what is happening today here on planet Earth. I literally wrote the whole manuscript. It's an actual manuscript that I wrote. Let's see, today is 2020, 14, 15, probably like 2016. I finished all the notes and actually started to write it, and then I didn't really publish it until the middle of 2018 because I wasn't sure of myself. And then in the end, I just decided I'm just going to do it anyway. I published it, and the notes here, basically the whole theme of this book is Global Restructuring, January 2020, okay? So guess what's happening on planet Earth right now? We're having a massive, massive global restructuring in the worlds of wealth and money and finance. And it is happening through the global markets, as you probably noticed, all across the earth. Every single country, every single population on earth is affected by what is happening here right now. Now, I feel like I'm lucky because I studied my charts years and years ago, and when I started to see these like clusters building up, I thought, oh my God, this is really serious. This is very serious. And so I read more and I studied more and I did more of my own calculations, and I realized we are heading for what's basically a massive shitstorm. And excuse the language, but that's kind of what's happened. By the way, YouTube is really, really strict on policies right now for children and things, and because all my videos are cleared for adults, but not for children. And my channel is now declared is not suitable for children, okay? So it does not get broadcast to anybody under the age of 18, okay? Anyway, so I had to put that on a reference. But I don't know if you ever saw the movies. Let me just get another note here. Have you ever seen, there are some very important movies. They're dramatizations. They're not documentaries. They're dramatizations. One of them was Margin Call. And this was a docudrama about what happened in the 2008 crash. And then there's another one, a movie that was called The Big Short. Okay. And that was also about the same thing. I don't know if you remember, but in the year 2008, 2009, the whole of the financial markets on Wall Street exploded. And these movies are like dramatizations of what happened behind the scenes. And there's a scene over here in Margin Call where Kevin Spacey is in the middle of a meeting with the bosses of all the big banks up in New York, especially Goldman Sachs. And he has this very serious look on his face. You know what? Let me check in with you again personally. Hold on. Okay, so there's Kevin Spacey, all right? And they're in this meeting. They're at the boardroom, and they're at the top of a big skyscraper for Goldman Sachs, the big global trading bank, dealing with trillions and trillions of dollars. And Jeremy Irons plays the boss of the fictional Goldman Sachs. And Kevin Spacey plays the boss of the trading pit for all the stuff that goes on inside Goldman Sachs when they do all this trading of, billions and billions of dollars every day, every minute, from 9 till 3 every day on Wall Street. And there's this like moment of an epiphany where the camera closes on Jeremy Irons, and he's having a little quiet lunch at the top of the building, and he's all by himself. He looks all kind of sad and miserable and lonely. And he comes to a realization that the whole of the world's financial systems are going to explode. And he's sitting there having his little snacks and hors d'oeuvres and deli lunch thing with a little glass of champagne or something. And then he realizes, we're screwed. Well, not we're screwed, but the markets are screwed. But we're not going to let Goldman Sachs get screwed. And so he goes down to the office and holds an emergency meeting, and he gets Kevin Spacey to come up to the center here and says, okay, so everybody, I have to tell you that Wall Street and the global financial system is going to have a major crash. Okay? Hint, hint. Okay, hope you're seeing that. And so the boss of Goldman Sachs had to figure out, well, how are we going to get out of this? Because there's a lot of people who are not going to make it. And so Goldman Sachs, Jeremy Irons decided, you know what? We have to be the ones that start. Because once this starts, we can't stop it, and it's going to turn into a freaking nightmare. A global meltdown nightmare of astronomical proportions that has never happened on Earth before. Jeremy Irons figured it out. So he goes to Kevin Spacey and tells Kevin Spacey, you're going to have to do what you have to do. And so they're all sitting there at the table, right? There's like dozens of, extremely wealthy, very successful market traders who's sitting around at the table waiting for the bosses to talk. And it goes very, very dark and very, very somber and very, very serious in the office. And then Kevin Spacey looks at Jeremy Irons, and Kevin Spacey says, this is a shitstorm. And then he looks at everybody in the room, and he says, I'm sorry, everybody. We are dealing with the biggest financial shitstorm on Earth that has ever happened before. And the boss, Jeremy Irons, has told me that we're going to sell everything. We're going to get out now while we can and screw everybody else. It's to the death. We're not going down. And the point is that once we start doing the trades, eventually the rest of Wall Street's going to figure out that everything's going to go down. So it's the question of who gets out first, and that's going to be us. And so then Kevin tells the whole trading room, all the board members across the room, and he says, guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, your careers are basically over. You are going to go to your desks right now. You're going to sell everything we have, however you have to do it. Say whatever you have to say. Just sell it and get out and get as much money as you can. And then by the end of the clock, ding ding tonight, the show is over. And then he says, I'm sorry, a lot of you are not going to have jobs anymore at the end of this, because we're going to destroy the rest of the banks before they destroy us. And so all of the traders are looking at each other, and they realize that this is serious. It's a very Saturn moment. It's a very, very serious, heavy global moment. And then Kevin says, each one of you is going to get like a $3 million severance package deal, so you're going to be okay. But the chances are, because we're going to screw over everybody in all the other banks, no one's going to want to touch you again. So you're going to have to find new lives after today, well, from tomorrow onwards. And then everybody kind of goes, okay, we get it, we understand. And then Kevin says, okay, Jeremy, we're going to do this. And then Jeremy says, okay, well done, Kevin. Excellent job. Thank you very much. Just keep me posted. Thank you very much. And so the rest of the movie is all about the chaos and the nightmare and the mayhem of all the trading that goes on for Wall Street for that day until the market closes and everything crashes. And Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers, they all crash. And then Goldman Sachs remains the top dog at the end of the day. But it's devastating. It's devastation. Okay? So, that's the background for this little video right now. That was about 12 years ago. Okay? Now we're at another point in time, a completely different point in time, where all the astrology and all the planets, by the way, thank you for watching. Let me go back here. Let me just go back over here a second. Okay? Stay there. At that moment in time, let me go over here. When this thing happened here, this was the time when Pluto, the great destroyer, moved into Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign of business, the sign of reality, okay? And then when Wall Street went off and did its thing, it's just basically Pluto doing its business. Pluto's in Capricorn is the great destroyer of business and finance and infrastructure that no longer is genuine or true or honest. And guess what happened? After the 2009 thing, the president basically said in the United States, I'm just going to bail everybody out. Here's like $780 billion, and you can just start all over again. So that's what they did. Now, fast forward, okay, here we are in, actually, I should put the date here, shouldn't I? Actually, I got it here. Here's the date. Okay, here we are, 17th of March, 2020. We're in a similar thing, but it's much more severe right now. It's much more extreme, and that's kind of the message of this video, is that what is happening today, right now, here, the 17th of March, 2020, is a very important calendar moment for the day where all the news about the meltdown of the global economy is unavoidable. It's all over the world, but it's on a much bigger scale now than it was in 2008. So, from my perspective, the reason it's happening is because today is a landmark moment with the planets where we have so much energy piled up. This is never going to happen again in our lifetimes, okay? Well, we might get a couple more blips throughout 2020 when there's big clusters of Capricorn, but something like this hasn't happened for at least like 250 years. This will never happen again in our lifetimes, okay? It never happened before in our lifetimes. It didn't even happen like this in World War I or World War II. This is monumental. Nobody in humankind has ever dealt with this particular alignment before, and it's very powerful. It's very, very serious. I call it the Global Reality Check Police, okay? And the Global Reality Check Police are very, very active right now. And the way I see it, you know, the whole coronavirus is basically the precursor to all of this. Now, in a minute, I'm going to add another doodle over here. I'll show you. I already talked about this before in other videos. In just a moment here, we're still on the very tippy edges of the Pisces Sun and Neptune in Pisces, okay? So I'll put that over here, Sun and Neptune. Now, some of you know, you might understand, like Neptune, the 12th house, the Piscean energy, can sometimes be considered the hidden enemy. The 12th house can often represent things like incarceration, imprisonment, hospitalization, addiction, insanity, crime, betrayal, treachery, lies, deception, disillusionment, denial, the temptation to bury everything that you can't handle with life into the kitchen drawer of your soul. And that's where it turns into this rotting, festering, moldy, mildewing, decaying mess that destroys and stinks up everything else. And guess what? This beautiful alignment here is an indication that that is exactly what's happening on planet Earth right now. There's an incredible amount of sacred geometry going on here between all this huge stellium of Capricorn energy and the Pisces energy here. This is very, very benevolent. So as ugly as this is beautiful. So the way I look at it, what is happening on Earth right now is this staggeringly beautiful display of sacred geometry that is basically heaven or like the universe or the source trying to have a conversation with humanity and basically telling humanity, please, 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 humanity, get your act together. You're going to have to really upgrade your game. You're going to have to really improve the way that you behave yourselves with responsibilities, with money, and greed, and all of these things in such a way that you don't keep repeating this problem. Can you see? In other words, this is you can't avoid it everywhere on Earth. You know, even in parts of Africa and South America right now, Central America, Russia, they're all being affected by this virus, and it's affecting their economy. And let's just face it. Hold on, let me get real here. Have you ever heard of Saturn being described as the great teacher? Okay, Saturn the great teacher. So right now, we already know, excuse me, my eyes are sore. I've been doing a lot of reading and studying today. So anyway, Saturn is the great teacher, okay? Saturn is in Capricorn right now. It just aligned with Pluto. Just that alone is the Global Reality Check Police on full alert. Now we add Jupiter, now we add Mars, and now we add the Moon, okay? So you're adding the energies of expanding that energy, adding volatility through Mars, and then the deep fear that would come through the Moon, like the sensitive part of the self. So you put it all together, everything here, the way I see it, okay, I'm just going to get to the point now. The way I see it, 2020, we're looking at, we've already got this. This is already all over the global news. We're going to have a global recession. It's happening right now. People are losing their jobs. Major companies are being destroyed, completely crushed, pulverized. And of course, the optimists are thinking, oh, we're going to get out of this in a few months. The thing is, we're still sliding down the hill. We're still going deeper and deeper into the mud. We're still like in a very, very slow motion automobile accident, like a massive crash. We haven't hit the bottom yet. Okay? We just had the crash. The crash became global news in late January, and then it came big time in early March, and now it's full-on global news. There's basically almost like nothing else on the news anymore except the virus and the impacts of the virus. And it's the same thing, it's the same experience that happens when you have a major automobile accident. Everything kind of goes into this like slow motion thing as the whole accident plays out. And most of the energy that we're dealing with in terms of this recession type stuff is to do with the Saturn and Pluto energies that move slowly or very slowly. Now add in Jupiter. Mars is going to move quite quickly. The moon is going to move very quickly. So in a few days, the moon's going to move on into Aquarius. But guess what happens? Okay, this is where it's going to get really scary. I'm not trying to be a fearmonger here. Let me go back to the stage a second. I want to show you something. All right, you see this little astrodoodle here? These are all the planets lined up, okay? Let's just say this one is the moon, okay? This is Mars, this is Jupiter, this is Pluto and Saturn, okay? Saturn is right here at the 29th degree, so Saturn is screaming very, very loudly, for God's sake, humanity, get your shit together, okay? Now, Mars is over here moving really quickly. And in about 10 days, I think it's actually on the 24th of March, Mars will be here. What does that mean? It means that Mars is sitting right on top of Pluto. Okay, that's called a massive conjunction. And when you have, as far as I understand, my personal opinion in terms of what I know about astrology, and I've been studying it as an amateur for decades, when I see Pluto and Mars aligned, I see war. Now, how do you define war? What are the nuances of the war? What is the background of the war? What is the cause of the war? What is the nature of the war? I'm not sure, but I see war, okay? Now, because we're dealing with energy of Capricorn, I see this war energy being expressed in the world of business, finance, governance, corporations, countries, banks, bankers, and politicians, okay? I'm not talking about the war of guns and the military type stuff. It's still war, okay? But the war that I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at March 24th, okay? We're going to have other videos before then, okay? But right now for tonight, I just want to put that on record, okay? I don't want to scare you. Thank you. I'm just glad you're watching this because it makes me feel more comfortable. You might want to mark your calendar. Today is the 17th of March, okay? We're already dealing with this. This is global. We already have that full online, okay? All I'm saying is watch what happens when Mars conjoins Pluto. And that starts around the 24th, okay? We're already building up to it. And it looks like war. And my personal feeling is that the global markets, the global economies, the global governments, the global banks are in that description that I put over across already, which is that slow motion car crash, and it's still happening. The car crash is still happening. Things are still getting crushed, beat up, and pulverized, and the car crash is not over. My feeling is that once Mars gets into Pluto, and that's going to be there for whatever it is, I know, a few weeks or something like that, that's when things are going to get really ugly. In other words, however bad you think it is right now, here today, 17th of March, just wait till we get to the 24th of March, okay? I can't tell you in detail how that's going to pan out, but my personal feeling is that the most likely location of the battlefield will be the global financial markets. So the way I look at it is, I'm just going to put it out there, I see World War III. Okay? I see World War III, and it's happening. It's going to be executed and fought in the financial markets, the political markets, the banking markets, the currency trading markets. That's where the war will be conducted. And the aftermath of the war, the carnage of the war, the outcomes of the war, the tragedy of the war will be felt by the individuals, the countries, the nations, as the war unfolds. In other words, it's not like World War I or World War II, where everybody was killing each other directly with guns and ammo. This is a world war where people are trying to stay alive by doing whatever they have to do in the financial markets, okay? To save themselves. Save yourself. Okay, I'm just going to show you something here. Okay, I've got to put, this was actually kind of a, I don't know if you can see this. Protect your money, protect your privacy, protect yourself. Okay, so that's the, anyway, I'm not trying to promote the book here. If you're interested in it, get back to me, talk to me, and I'll show you how to get it. There's links below on this video. But the point that I'm trying to get to, well, actually, I've kind of made my point. It's pretty dire. Some people are not going to make it. Okay, we already know that. Some people are not going to make it. Some people are going to be affected directly by the virus itself. But the ripple effects, the domino effect of what this virus is triggering across the planet, that's where people are going to get hurt. Just like in the United States, Europe, and China. All the big economies that are heavily intertwined. What we're going to discover is that everybody was a little bit too intertwined and a little bit too presumptuous about how awesome everything could be all the time. And for the last 12 years, since 2008, the United States, along with China and Europe, has been printing money to infinity just to keep the same old game going. But my personal feeling is that what's happening in the planets right now is that there's a very, very strong arm on the shoulder. I see it as the reality check police putting an arm on the shoulder of China, of the United States, of all the European countries, and every other country that trades with our countries. The reality check police are basically saying, excuse me, you guys just can't keep printing money to get out of this situation. You're going to have to find a new way to live. You're going to have to find a new way to conduct yourself, conduct your lives. Okay? You're going to have to become more, let's just say, egalitarian, more compassionate. Okay, I'm going to do something on this video right now, which I was planning to do on another video, but I'm going to drop a hint to it right now. Okay? So give me a second. Let's see if I can do this. As we edge closer and closer to the time of Aquarius, when Pluto moves into Aquarius, I think it's about 2024, we are going to be introduced more and more vividly into the Aquarian energy of egalitarianism, decentralized government, decentralized money, decentralized banking, and more humanitarian ways of treating each other as organisms, and especially our planet. And so, to get back to business, let's just pretend I'm like a really, really important, college professor about business. I'm gonna put something out here for you guys to consider. Okay, there's something called stakeholder capitalism versus shareholder capitalism. So what's the difference? They sound very similar. Well, they're radically different. They are radically, astronomically different. Just after World War II in the United States, corporate America was so happy to be out of war and have a chance to rebuild its country again. And almost all business was conducted from this perspective, what they called what they called stakeholder capitalism. So in other words, let me go back to you, okay? In other words, if I'm the boss of like Ford or General Motors or some big wine company or a manufacturer or a food company, and I have to make food or cars or trucks or computers or whatever it is, or clothing or furniture, whatever it is, and I'm running this company, as the boss, my concern is for the stakeholders. Now, the stakeholders include myself and all my money that I'm going to make, and the ownership of the company, the shareholders, the executive, the board of directors, the management, upper management, middle management, and lower management, and all the employees, all the distributors, and all the retailers, and everyone else who's involved in this business, my business, okay? And when I make really, really important decisions, I take all of them into account. In other words, how is our business going to affect the local community? With employment, jobs, house building, home building, community connections, community relationships, so we can have a vibrant, active, healthy community. Okay? Take everybody into account. That's how they used to do it. Okay? That's how it used to be done in America. Now, since the 1980s and 90s, it just changed radically, and now we have something called, I'll just go back very quickly, shareholder capitalism, okay? And then things got really, really brutal. Okay, so what happened basically is corporations, bosses, and banks, and politicians, and presidents all decided, you know what, let's just do whatever we can to serve ourselves. Screw the community. I mean, we can talk about all that stuff, but what we're really out for is to make as much money as we can for ourselves, especially the shareholders. Because when you please the shareholder, then they keep rewarding you with more investing. So it started to become an obsession. And all these companies, instead of offering paid sick leave or like a retirement plan or some healthcare support or things like that, or maternal, whatever they call it, having babies and, maternity leave or whatever it's called. All of that got thrown out the window. And, there are so many companies, basically, you're kind of on your own now. If you can get a job, great. You can get your paycheck, great. If everything goes wrong, goodbye, good luck. And so all the revenues that came into these corporations started going to the bosses at the top and to the shareholders, okay? And screw everybody else. Screw the community, screw the environment, screw the, the whole network, screw the world in which you live in. Don't worry about all of that kind of stuff. We will only worry about pollution if the federal government stops us. Anyway, so it got worse and worse and worse and worse, and it turned into this maniacal, drugged, raged. I don't know. It became out of control. It became so obscenely out of control. It just becomes a criminal operation, like what happened when everything exploded in 2008. And then the president at that time said, "Oh, okay. So what do you need, guys? Oh, $750 billion." So they bailed him out, and now we're back to where we were. And all that happened is the same model kept going and going and going. Meanwhile, the way I look at it, the planets are starting to press down harder and harder and harder. Like, you can't keep doing this, people. You can if you want to, but then you have to live with the outcomes that you've just created. Okay? Everything that's happening right now is perfect. What is happening on this planet Earth right now is absolutely perfect. Everything is exactly as it should be. Why is that so? It's because it can't be any other way. These are just pure physics, okay? And so you can't blame anyone or anything. It's humanity. We're in this situation because of the way human beings behave and the way human beings treat each other and the way we've been treating each other. It's like gorging. Just like gorging on what can be done. It's like factory farming, where human beings have been farmed like factory chickens, factory cows, factory pigs, all of that stuff. But we've taken it so far. Have you ever seen those videos of what goes on inside a factory chicken farm or inside the Chinese slave camps? It's basically the same thing. So I'm trying to make an analogy here. When you have 7.5 billion people who are living basically, billions of them like in slave camps, let's be honest. Like, if you're watching this video, the chances are you're probably not working in a slave camp, okay? You might be in a westernized economy. You're very, very high up in the global food chain. But that's actually a small number. There's more like billions of people who don't have the privileges that we have, to talk the way that we do. So everything, in other words, let's get back to the virus, because that's kind of the background theme about what's happening, right? Like, the virus is a trigger, okay? And you could say like, oh, so this virus and all the things that are happening across planet Earth because of this virus, it's no different from what happens in factory farming when there's an infection, okay, and all the chickens die. When you get 100,000 chickens in a factory farm, and then within a matter of days they're all dead, okay? It's simply because of some virus that infected them. But when they're living so close together and they're being stressed and pumping out and working so hard just to meet their financial obligations, just to stay alive, they're overstressed. They're overstressed. And their immune systems can't cope. Well, from my perspective, exactly the same thing is happening with humanity, where we have pushed humanity to the limits, where our immune systems collapse, and guess what? It's very obvious. You get a complete collapse of the thing, the organism. If you think of humanity as an organism, it's just going, just like a factory chicken farm that gets infected. Okay? And who do you blame? Well, you can blame the factory chicken farmer owners and all of that, but we're all part of it. I personally look to the top, and everyone else on the planet Earth is going to look to the top. They're going to look to the presidents, the governments, and the banks, okay? Think of Pluto in Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn, Jupiter in Capricorn, okay? And so, we can say to ourselves, all of this is our own doing. We have brought this upon ourselves because this is how we behave as human beings. We treat each other as though we're like factory farming a bunch of chickens. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones. You're not actually on the factory farm. You're more like one of the consumers. That's fine. But there's billions of humans who are like factory farm chickens. So anyway, my personal view is that we're already here. Okay? It's 2020. We're already in a recession. We're going through a slow motion train wreck car crash. And my feeling is we're actually going to head to what they technically call a depression, okay? And in the financial world, again, I'm not a financial expert, even though I wrote that book. In terms of like global economics, a depression is when they have like 3 or 4 quarters all in a row. Like it's like 3 months in a row, 3, 6, 9 months in a row. When you have a recession 9 months in a row and it doesn't stop, you're basically looking at a depression. And the big depression, the really big one, was around 20? You know, when the United States went into a massive depression, everything collapsed, millions of people dying, losing their homes, farms, and everything. That was the Great Depression, and that depression affected the rest of the world. Then we had the big recession of 1987, and then there was another one in 2000 because of the 9/11 thing, 2001 or whatever it was, I can't remember. And then we had the big one in 2008, and now we're coming up to 2020. My personal view is that this is the big one. This is the big, fat, ugly one because nobody on earth can escape. Okay? Nobody. We're all impacted. I'm not saying we're all infected. We're all impacted. We're all impacted by each other's behavior. The way some people treat other human beings. And my view is that humanity doesn't really learn its lessons like at school unless you learn the hard way. So my feeling is that we're going to be moving from recession into depression. You know, like the news places like Yahoo Finance or the Wall Street Journal or, wherever these financial news peoples are coming from, Fox News, CNN News, BBC, NBC, whatever it is. Nobody wants to use these kind of words because they trigger more fear, and then the global financial markets go crashing down even further. So even though my personal feeling is that we're already heading towards this depression, no one wants to talk about it. Because no one wants to talk about the D word because it's too frightening, because that means millions and millions of people on earth are going to be impacted. Serious depression, losing their jobs, losing their savings, losing their health care plans, losing their retirement, losing their lives, okay? That's what's kind of at stake here. Okay? That's what happens in a depression. Also, depressions can trigger war. Like if you remember, like I think it was around 19, like after World War I, like 1918, 1920, everybody was ecstatic. And so they had the Roaring Twenties. And in the Roaring Twenties, people just went berserk on credit cards. Basically, the banks just kept throwing out money and everything exploded. And so for the whole of I kind of got my dates wrong there from earlier. So the really big depression in America was from 1920. So we had the roaring 20s, which was like a massive economic bubble. And then it all exploded because it was all built on debt. Okay? Fake money. Fiat money, just debt. Money never existed, okay? And then a bubble bursts because you can't keep printing money forever. And so you come to the end of the 1920s and you go into the 30s, and then you end up all the way up to 39. So you had 20 years of extended depression. And you got to the point like where the Germans figured out the only way we're going to be able to deal with this is just print more money. So that's what they did. They just kept printing astronomical amounts of money, thinking they could just fool their population, like, we're okay, we're going to be fine. It's just the same thing as you just taking a credit card, burning it out to $10, $20, $30,000, and then somebody gives you another one, just says keep going, everything will be fine. Here's just another credit card, just keep going. You know, it's just all fake math. Okay, so anyway, once you get a run on the banks where everybody decides, really, they start to realize, my God, we're screwed. The only things that matter anymore are your relationships, your friends, your family, your skills, your talents, the home you live in, the land you have, the stuff you have in your cupboard, the stuff you have in your wallet, and that's it. It doesn't matter how much gold there is, how much paper money you have. It doesn't matter what the politicians say. That's all you've got is what you've got. And that's what triggered the war, 1939. That was one of the big triggers because there was nowhere else to go. And they decided to use guns. I'm not saying we're there yet. All I'm suggesting here is that right now, March 17th, is a wake-up call to this, okay? I'm just putting it out there. And then I think on March 24th, we're going to see something that basically says, yeah, this is what we're talking about. This is for real. I still don't think anyone's going to want to admit to talk about the word depression, but I think the world has a lot more crashing down to do, simply because when I look at the math, the bubble is so big, you can't just go overnight. It's collapsing in layers and layers and layers and layers as all the different countries and continents are being impacted by the virus, and how that virus, how our behavior is affecting global supply and global demand. Supply is crashing, demand is crashing. That is a recipe for depression, okay? Supply is crashing, demand is crashing. It's inevitable we're going to end up with this depression thing, okay? And you don't need me to reinforce it. It's happening. You can just see it. If you're in the United States, you can see it around you. If you're in Europe, you can see it around you. Streets are empty, stores are emptying out, public activities are being shut down, okay? And a lot of people are getting sick. So there. I just wanted to put this out there as kind of a notice. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. I'm sharing my feelings. We're already in the recession, okay? My personal feelings that we're heading to a depression, okay? And it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's so ugly, it's beautiful, because this is like the wake-up call. I'm sorry, this is, to me, I can only share this with a few people, but as far as I'm concerned, this is like sacred geometry. It's a very, very beautiful thing. It's an incredible opportunity for humanity to wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, people. Okay? And look what we're doing to each other. Look what we're facing. Having treated each other the way we do. Behaving the way we do. There's a global consensus that is going to have to happen. We're going to have global conversations. Like, you just can't farm people like chickens. You can't treat people like pigs. You just can't do that, because you end up with what we have today, this disgusting, sickly thing that we have created for ourselves. You can't blame it on the planets. You can't blame it on your neighbor. You can blame it on humanity. Okay, this is happening because we are human beings. And this is how we are behaving as human beings. Everything is perfect. Everything is exactly as it should be. And out of the bad will come the good. We will learn from this. Saturn, the great teacher, will teach us. And we're going to learn the hard way. Okay? I don't know, if you're still watching, I can't rely on, I'm just going to check. Oh, okay, so if you've got any comments, feel free to type it in on the screen. I will try to respond as best as I can. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of wrap it up now. I just wanted to share my views, put that out there. And we'll do another show again soon. It won't be all doom and gloom. On the next one, I'll probably do something like the golden opportunity. Because remember, Jupiter is going to be aligning with Pluto towards the end of the year. When you have Jupiter and Pluto aligned, that is sacred opportunity. Okay? We're not there yet, but we're heading there. So out of the bad will come the good. We're just not there yet. Wow, this is one of the most serious videos I've ever done. I think I'm going to play a song now. It's called Love is the Word. Let me see if I can set this up for you. It's kind of like a song that I use to cheer myself up, and it's to get me all pumped up. It's kind of got a serious tone to it. And it's how I face the world. It's how I get myself prepped up psychologically, emotionally, musically, mentally, physically, to face the world. Okay, so I'm going to play this song. It's called Love is the Word. And it sounds like this. Love is the word. I'm just typing it into my player right now, and you should hear it in just a moment. Okay, it's there. Okay. So, to me, it's about the beat and the lyrics. I'm actually going to sign off and say goodbye now, and if you have to go, you have to go, but I'm going to play this song to the end. It's about 5 minutes, and I invite you to listen to the lyrics, okay? And we'll go from there. It sounds like this. It's from yours truly, Tarot Lumination. I know the production is a bit rough, but you should get the point, okay? Thank you for being here, dear watcher. For the skies, opening my hands to welcome in the day, gather in the sun's rays before I'm on my way, and the healing vibrations rattle through my soul, shaking out the poisons, making me whole, casting out diseases by chanting the word. The sounds of the universe by all will be heard. Resonate inside us, Nam is the word. Moving through the day, pray no accidents arise. Giving thanks to heaven that I am still alive. Blessing my enemies, blessing the ones I love. Praying for forgiveness for any damages I've done. And the healing vibrations rattle through my soul, shaking out the poisons, making me whole, casting out diseases by chanting the word. The sounds of the universe by all will be heard. Resonate inside us, Nam is the word. Now the day is done and moon is on the rise. My trials and tribulations all bottled up inside. I summon in the Nam as I reach up for the skies. I command all fear and shadows be gone before my eyes. And the healing vibrations rattle through my soul, shaking out the poisons, making me whole, casting out diseases by chanting the
does